Howdy, friends. Welcome into today's episode that I recorded with our good friend Jonathan Bearded Blevins. We had what I think is the most fun segment Jon and I have ever done together in the second segment, where we did kind of a fantasy draft of people from the Bible who would be great to run this business, Forte Catholic, this nonprofit. Who are the biblical characters who would be the best CEO, CFO, all of the C-suite, all of the positions at Forte Catholic? Who would be the best biblical characters to fill that out? We also talked about how Jon accidentally stabbed himself with a knife and had to get stitches last week, and also shared about our engagement stories, both of which are kind of crazy, if you ask us. And then we finish up the show with our final segment, where we are talking about something a little smarter than we usually try to do. I try to sound smart, and it doesn't really come across, but I hope that you enjoy it anyway. This was such a fun episode, one of the best that Jon and I have done together in quite some time. I hope that you enjoy it. If you do, please hit the subscribe button wherever you are listening on the podcast, or if you are watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. That really is the best way that you can help us out. Super simple. It's free. We'd really, really appreciate it. Hit subscribe and enjoy today's show. What's up? And welcome to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Stroll, and that is Jonathan Lene Bearded Blevins. Jon, how you doing, bud?
I am doing okay, Taylor. Excited to be hanging out with you today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I heard that you told me, ever since we did the Forte Flashback series of, like, the first time all of the co-hosts came on as guests on the show, it was so weird for me to hear me back then call you Jonathan. Like, we weren't friends. We were just kind of acquaintances at that point, and that's, like, was the beginning of a friendship. But apparently you told me that, like, everyone calls you Jonathan now. Am I the only person in your life that still calls you Jon? What's going on?
So my wife calls me Jon. Joel calls me Jon.
I'm in good company.
Joel Stepanek. And a lot of I would say, like, everybody who's known me pre-2016 calls me Jon. I felt like it was a little more professional, a little more professional to introduce myself as Jonathan.
Well, to be fair, I know that you're, like, a good professional. I've never seen it, per se. I know you're, like, good at your job, but, like, every time we're hanging out, we're just chilling, or, like, you on the stream, you're playing video games. But, like, that's not Jonathan. Like, my co-host and the Twitch streamer isn't Jonathan. That's Jon. I guess at work you can be Jonathan.
I thought you called me Beard.
Beard, Coach Beard from Ted Lasso. That's you.
I still haven't seen that yet, but I really want
What?
To. I know.
We're going to stop recording, and you need to go binge all of it right now. It's
Jody
that
and I are
good.
watching The Flash, and then we have to watch this other show, and then Ted Lasso's on the list. I have to watch. I was trying to watch this last night, like, super late. I was trying to watch Chosen with Joel. I was like, let's just watch an episode and see what the hype is about, and I couldn't get it.
Ted Lasso's better. That's my hot take. We're getting right out of the gate. Ted Lasso is better. But one thing, as you know, we are friends, and you did something last week that I haven't gotten a chance to talk to you about. I was like, we'll talk about it on the show. That's how everything happens in my life. We don't have real conversations until there's cameras on, because other than that, like, what would be the point, right?
Everything is content.
Right, exactly. So last week, you cut your hand, and I don't know the story. You're still, like, bandaged up, and
yeah.
I legitimately thought, like, you were going to back out of this, and you didn't, and I'm proud of you. So what happened with your hand?
So, okay, let me just a little pre-information. So this week, and I hate this, and Joel's here, so he's going to say this, and Joel and I have talked about this all the time, about how much both of us kind of hate this. I hate when people complain about being busy, because everyone's busy, right? And you just need to manage your time and all that stuff. But this week has been, like, the busiest week of probably my life, to be honest, with a lot of stuff happening at work.
Apparently that's a theme, because Allison complained about this exact thing, like me having people on your busiest week. I'm like, it's just every fourth week, bud. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, like, it's just been, like, a lot of work, and then a lot of other moving pieces that you kind of know about. And so I had a huge work day on Wednesday, and then I got to be home for like an hour. So I got home, Jody's parents were here. I was like, all right, I'm going to cook a meal real quick, eat, and then I got to go back to work in the evening. And I hate frozen ground beef, but her mom gets this awesome, like, organic full cow and sends it to us like once a year. So we have to freeze some of the ground beef. So I grabbed some of that.
What shape does the cow come in when you receive it?
The shape, so it just comes in like packages like this.
Okay.
And so it's frozen. I need to open it. It's got the plastic stuff around it. So I take this brand new sharp knife that my mom gave me. And if my mom's listening to this, it's not your fault. I was just joking.
It's your mom and mother-in-law's fault, is what I'm hearing.
Yes. And Jody's mom actually at the moment came upstairs and she's like, so how's life? And I take the knife and I cut towards my like an idiot. And literally just stabbed my hand, like about a quarter of an inch, as soon as it happened. You ever cut raw chicken?
Oh, John.
It felt just like that. It went that far in.
Oh, my gosh.
As soon as I did it, I ran under cold water. I didn't even look because I'd pass out. And as soon as it happened, I was like, I'm getting stitches. I've never had stitches. I knew I was getting stitches. Thank God Jody's parents were there. So she could take me to the urgent care. And I got 7 or 8 stitches. And they said it was, the doctor goes, oh, yeah. That's super deep. I was like, thank you.
So it was more like puncture wound than slice.
It really was, yeah. So it was probably about this. Of people who are watching, it's I don't know, like a quarter inch deep, and probably only like an eighth of an inch wide.
That's crazy, man.
But it's crazy. Right here. It's right in between my thumb and my pointer finger, like on that the tendon almost, and it just kind of it's like a bad spot because you have to use. It moves every time you move any one of your fingers, so
right,
it'll be fine. I'll be okay. In 2 weeks, I get to take the stitches out.
Well, yeah, you're a man. I'm so proud of you.
Dude, I'm like a wuss,
man,
bro. I had to get a tetanus shot too. It was like my first tetanus shot in 10 years, and the doctor's like, "All right, I'm gonna give you a tetanus shot," and I was like, "Well, I wasn't prepared for that."
Right.
It was rough. Thank God Jody was there.
So what you're saying is I stabbed myself, so now you have to stab me. That doesn't seem to make any sense.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
You stabbed yourself, which is not a thing that anybody wants to be doing. But so I'm a little happy about it. Can I tell you why I'm a little happy about it?
Yeah, I'm offended already, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm sad for you because obviously it hurt, and you play video games a lot for your stream. That's a big part of who you are, and you can't play video games now. Like, that sucks.
Yeah.
A little part of me is happy about it because now we're twinsies. I have a scar on my hand, and I sent it to you, and it looks like I'm sponsored by Nike. I don't think you can see it on the camera right now.
No, but you sent me a picture.
Yeah. I did send you a picture. So it looks like the Nike check, like the Just Do It check.
Did you get stitches?
I did get stitches, and you can still see where the stitches are. What you're going to have, John, is you just got superpowers. You know how old men, they can be like, oh, my knee hurts, so it's about to rain?
Yeah.
I have that in my hand. It starts tingling when something in the atmosphere is changing. It's like I have this spidey sense now, and it's only at the base of my left thumb. So
I don't believe you.
You're going to be a superhero. But you, because it was beef or chicken, you're going to get some kind of sense from a cow or a chicken that now makes you a superhero.
I love that.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. I hope I get something like that.
Well, I didn't spend the week stabbing myself. Not this week, at least. But last weekend, I got to do something really cool. Ever since we've had 3, our Felicity is 3 years old, almost 4. And this was either our first, maybe second time to ever spend a weekend just Sam and I. So we dropped all 3 of our kids off in San Antonio to her parents. They watched them from Friday night until Sunday afternoon. So 48 hours or whatever. And we went to celebrate our mutual friend Brian Montfort's 40th birthday. We went and stayed on this really nice lake here in Texas. We went and floated the river and just had a blast. It was the first time Sam and I have ever done a couples weekend. It was so much fun.
Yeah, that's amazing. First of all, didn't know Brian was already 40. Yikes.
Yeah, you're next.
No, I turned 34 in September.
Legitimately, you're next, John, because Brian just turned 40. Liv and Allison are way past 40. Anthony's my age, so you're next, buddy. You're my next 40-year-old friend.
That's cool. Also, you and your wife got to do that more, man. That's what family's for.
Yeah, it's really hard for us to get somebody to watch all 3 kids. So, and we live far, further away from people. We have babysitters that can watch them for a night or whatever.
Sure.
But it's just been really hard to vacation just Sam and I. A lot of times it's been me, Sam, and Felicity, which is still better, but it's not the same. It's not a couples weekend. So it was cool. It was Sam and I, Brian and his wife, and then Brian's sister and her husband, who also like works in Catholic media. So it's just this like instant,
That's
like I
cool.
didn't know those two, but it's this instant connection. Sam didn't really know them all that well, and just all three couples just bonded like immediately. Loved just spending time floating the river. It was great. It was just a great weekend that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm glad you got to do that. I've never met Brian's wife, but Brian is the man.
I've played Halo with Brian's wife. I had never, I hadn't met her briefly. Like I'd gone to his house a couple times, but I have only like ever really talked with Julie, his wife, on playing Halo, which is really funny.
Love that.
But it got me thinking about, because like my wife and I, we're in our 9th year of marriage. So like our next anniversary is our 10-year anniversary, which just seems, it's a decade of being married and a few more years, being on top of that, being together. So it got me thinking about, like, just kind of reminiscing about our marriage, right? Because it's hard for me to do that because we constantly have all 3 kids running around, so it's hard to reminisce about anything because you're like, this is what's happening right now, But I was reminiscing about like how our dating and engagement, and I told our engagement story like years ago on the show, but I hadn't shared it in a while, and that's kind of the theme, as Allison's been encouraging me to share old stories again. So I did. And I tweeted it out in a way that like I thought people weren't gonna like it. So it was a 3-tweet thread, very simple. The first tweet was, "I proposed with a ring pop."
Oh, I saw that, and I didn't even read the next one because I thought you were lying.
No, 100% true story. We'll get into it. I 100% proposed to a ring pop, and my lovely wife with a ring pop, not to a ring pop, Mr. Ring Pop. When she said yes, I gave her the real diamond ring. I had a diamond ring in my back pocket, but I wanted her to say yes to the ring pop. And then the third tweet, which is actually the most liked, was I had to make sure that she wasn't just in it for the youth ministry money. People seem to like that joke, right?
That's awesome.
But like, I legitimately thought, like, I knew the last tweet was a joke, right? Like, and to me, the whole thing was a joke. But just seeing the first tweet, like, you thought it was a joke. I thought, like, the ladies have just been mad at me recently, especially after last episode with Allison, and I said a lot of things that got the ladies all riled up. I was like, let's just play into it. Let's keep them riled up. Why not?
Yeah.
And I tweeted out, and everybody was like, that's so sweet. Somebody was like, it's so on brand, which I didn't know was a compliment or a diss. But people seem to like that story. So what do you think about me proposing with a ring pop?
It is on brand, which is both a compliment and an insult, if that's possible. It seems, I don't know. I didn't know you then. So did you really do, like, you actually had the diamond ring in your pocket?
Right now, but with a 6-pack and great hair.
It's incredible. So you had the diamond ring with you. It wasn't like I did. On layaway.
I did. No, I had the diamond ring. So she had told, like, we were both in college. So we had $0 to our name. We were both in our senior year of college. We got married a month after we both graduated college. Wow. So we got engaged the summer before. So like, I had no money. I was a college kid, right? So she had told me, like, we were just joking one time, and she got a ring pop as like a 22-year-old. And I'm like, that's so weird to just go into a gas station, get a ring pop. And she's like, I love ring pops. And I was like, really? I don't remember everything about it, but like, essentially it became a joke that she would say yes to a ring pop.
Okay, well, that's adorable then. That's an adorable story.
I was adorable back then. I was less jaded, better looking, just simply adorable. I've been sharing a lot of Throwback Thursday pictures to encourage myself to go work out because I used to look so much better. But anyway, so I sang to her. I've shared the long version of that story, so I'll keep it. I sang "Just the Way You Are," which seems cliche now, but it had just come out. That's how old we are.
Wait, what's that song?
Just the way.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
are.
Great.
Like it came out like 3 months before that, and then I went and like my band played. I sang. I went and knelt down on one knee. And I said I actually lied in the song. Like, there is one thing that I want to change. I want to change your last name. Very cute.
Taylor, that's cute.
I know. I used to be so good at stuff. It's depressing. And then I pulled out the ring pop, And eventually, it took her 25 minutes to say yes because she just cried, which is the most confusing 20 minutes of my life.
Yeah.
Apparently, she was just very happy and overwhelmed and all this kind of stuff. But she said yes to the ring pop. So then when she said yes, I pulled out like it was a family heirloom. My mom had gifted me a diamond that was gifted to her. I got it put on a new ring. Gave her the real diamond after she said yes to the ring pop. And then we got married. That's our engagement story.
I love that story. That's amazing. And she wasn't mad that you did it in public in front of a bunch of people?
So she wasn't. And it wasn't a bunch of people. So it was just my band and a photographer and a videographer. So I set it up perfectly. So like I like our band, we would have an event every week where we were leading worship or doing music for some church event. So we set it up like, hey, our band's playing tonight. You want to come? And then we did quote unquote sound check, right? So we did sound check, and then Sam and I went so there was an excuse to have the band so that I could sing to her, which is what I wanted to do. And there was an excuse to have a photographer and videographer there because they were going to be there for the event that night.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I lied to her, and then I told her I lied to her, and then it was all fine. It was a dupe. I duped her into marriage.
That's acceptable.
Yeah. Well, so what? I don't know your story. I don't know y'all's engagement story. I know that, like, I shared the last time you were on that, like, I fell in love with Jody because we joked that you've kept her from me and all this stuff, and I've never met her. But I watched you and your family on the game show, not Wheel of Fortune, Family Feud, right?
Yeah, not Wheel of Fortune.
I fell in love with Jody. But then I was thinking, like, as we were getting ready for the episode, I was like, I don't know y'all's engagement story. How did you trick that woman into marrying you?
It's a long story. I'll tell the short version. No, it's our 8-year anniversary is coming up on September 13th. We had a very short engagement. I'm bad at math, so I think that means that I proposed in 2013. And the reason that I know that I proposed in 2013.
Well, I had a baby already, John. You're so much older than me, and I already had a baby.
I'm not that much older. How old are you? 31?
I'm 31. Yeah.
I'm 2 years older than you.
You're almost 40.
I'm 2 years older than you. Okay, so this is crazy. I wanted to propose. We knew we were going to get married like in the first 6 months of dating, and then religion got in the way. She wasn't Catholic yet, and so then we dated for years and postponed it and broke up and got back together. And,
flirt to convert, baby.
Right, it finally worked. But it's crazy. So the week before we had a trip to Chicago planned. Okay, on Friday, in 2013, and the week before that, I told her, I said, just so you know, this trip is not an engagement trip. And it wasn't supposed to be an engagement trip. I didn't have money for a ring, right? So that was like on Sunday. So on Monday, I ended up Monday being the national championship for the basketball games, right? In March Madness. Michigan made it to the championship. And because of the score of that game, I won a pool between like this major office and won like $2,500.
No way! That's so gambling led to your marriage. That's
gambling
awesome.
led to my marriage. I know it's been amazing ever since. And so, no joke, like that Monday, I went and I got the money. I bought a ring, and I was like, I am going to propose this week now that I can. So then,
I love that we both lied to our now wives.
I know
to make this happen. Yeah.
We duped them. So then like the Boston Marathon bombing happens, right? And that I think that was like a Wednesday. It was April 15th, 2013, I think is the date of that. Whatever date that was. It was a Monday, Tuesday, a Wednesday, or Thursday, one of those days. And I don't know why, bro, but I got so sucked into that. Like I was listening to the police scanner for like all night long until like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. The night before I was going to take her and propose. I was just wanting them to catch him. For some reason, the police scanner was very easy to find on Twitter. And so they're like, he's in the boat. He's here. Like, it was crazy trying to find this guy. Or one of the two guys, I think, whatever. So I end up driving to Chicago, listening to the radio the whole time, still trying to find out if they're going to catch this guy. And Jody's like, why are you so obsessed with this? We get to the hotel. We check into a hotel. I have my brother, Chris, and his friend, Will. We're going to meet us at the fountain in Chicago, the Buckingham Fountain, and record it, right? So we could have it there. They're the only 2 people that were going to be there. I was going to take her to the fountain. It was going to be amazing, and then propose. We get into an Uber, which I think was like brand new at the time. And we show up to the Buckingham Fountain, and on the radio, the guy's listening to the same radio station I was listening to. So they catch the guy who did the bombing like seconds before we got out of the car. So it was like finally I could be at peace because I've been following this so closely for a couple of days. And we get out, we go to the fountain, and the fountain's off. And so the cool thing about the fountain being off was that nobody was there. And so, I held her hands. I told her how much I love her. probably at the time, like Joel Stepanek and he's here right now for those who are listening. Great friend of mine, my best friend. He literally trying to think of a way I can roast him. He helped me become a very holy person. So I'm pretty sure because of him, I even said something like, "I really want to help you get to heaven." As part of the proposal.
Yeah.
And my brother filmed it.
Nerdy Catholic thing.
For sure. Yeah. So I get down on one knee and I propose and she says yes and cries, and it's amazing. We spent the rest of the night going out in Chicago and celebrating. My brother joined us and just hung out with us. We're Catholic, so he stayed in our hotel room. It was great. The craziest part of that whole story, though, is that I never got to see the video because my brother Tyler recorded a YouTube video over it. So Chris took a train with his friends, filmed the whole thing, and we never saw it one time. It's gone.
That's so funny.
Isn't that great? Isn't that a great story?
It's just so funny because we've talked for years about y'all's family dynamic, and that happened. Oh man, I can't imagine how upset you were.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe it. He's like, I don't know where it is, bro. I don't know where it is. And I was like, okay, it's gone. And then we found it, and it was something filmed over it.
Did that video perform well?
I don't even think he released it.
Oh, what a jerk!
Seriously, I think it was just like Halo. It was just like a montage of like Halo clips that never got released.
Oh no, John, that's terrible.
Yeah, but it was great, and we had a fast engagement. We got married. I think it was in 3 months. I think we had a 3-month engagement.
You want to know?
We got married in September, so April, May, June, July, August, September, so 5 months.
Yeah, you had to make sure she wasn't gonna back out.
That's right.
Give her the least amount of time to back out. Dude, that's so crazy, man. Here's one, maybe a veiled blessing. I think not having the video sucks. Let's just put that out there first. But one of the torturous things of my life, John, is that I do have the video.
You have to let me see that.
So here's the thing, John. We've talked about like how cool, calm, and collected I was. Like, oh yeah, I was suave. I was doing my thing. But then I told you about the like 20 minutes, 15 minutes of awkward, like when she hadn't said yes yet. I have like maybe 10 times in my life, like kissed someone on the forehead. We joked about like missing kisses last week. For those of you that listened last week, like I'm just not a forehead kisser. But apparently when I'm nervous at the most important moment of my life, I kissed her forehead 400 times in that 20-minute span. And it's embarrassing.
Were you actually worried she might say no, or did you kind of know she was crying because she was happy?
No, 50-50. No, I'm just kidding. I knew she was going to say yes. It was just really, like, awkward. I was like, because, like, it wasn't the yes or no thing. It was more about your question a second ago. Like, was this how she wanted to be proposed to? Right?
Gotcha.
I didn't know. I knew she wanted to be married to me. We had talked about that for months, right? But yeah, I just wasn't sure. So when she finally said, so I was like, so after like 15, 20 minutes, you see, like, because you can't hear us talking because the music's still playing. You just see it, right? And you just see me go like, so. And she's like, oh, yes, of course.
That's awesome.
So it was great. So, well, good. I feel closer to you now that I know that story. And by that, I mean you stabbing yourself. I mean, the engagement story was cool too. But we are both really excited about our next segment. When we come back, what we are going to do is, I had this idea. I thought it'd be fun. John thinks it's one of the greatest ideas I've ever had. So we'll see 100%. If you guys like it. We are going to, Forte Catholic, the business right now is just me and one contractor. That's all it is. And then obviously the co-hosts help out and stuff. So, but like employees, I'm the only employee. So I was like, well, we don't have the money to pay employees. So let's just say in a perfect world, if we drafted biblical characters to be the key positions at Forte Catholic. That's what we're going to do right when we come back. Do not go anywhere. Do you ever struggle to integrate your Catholic faith with your day-to-day lifestyle? Boy, you know I do. Have you ever wanted to know more about why we celebrate certain traditions or what the faith teaches about the Bible, social justice, and science? Maybe you're looking for a fresh, engaging, and practical way to learn about the Catholic faith that also feels relevant to you. That's what the Ave Explorers podcast is all about. It was created with all those things in mind, hosted by my friend Katie Prejean McGrady. Ave Explorers aims to explore aspects of the Catholic faith from a variety of different angles. I almost said angels, I'm reading this wrong, and breaks down their meanings and importance for everyday Catholics. Each series features top guests from the Catholic world, including Jeannie Gaffigan, Father John Burns, who I did an event with once, Meg Hunter Kilmer, Leah Darrow, Mark Hart, and more. The best part is it's all free. Their new season starts next week, so go to wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe to Ave Explores today. You can also sign up for all of the free content at AveMariaPress.com or by following Ave Maria Press on social media. Ave Explores, everyday faith for everyday people. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll. That is still Jonathan Bearded Blevins. And I'm so excited for this segment that we're about to do. We are going to draft. But it's fantasy football season. I just did my draft. Every time I draft, I think I'm going to win. And every year I go to the playoffs. So I'm at least close to being right. So, but I know that you're super big into Forte Catholic. Obviously, you're here at least once a month. Big into fantasy football, big into football, period. So you're all over this. And you also think you're right all the time, which is why I think this is perfect to do with you.
Again, Taylor, I am right all the time because if I'm wrong, I will admit that I'm wrong and then I'll be right.
It's the weirdest thing about this show is that me, you, Father Anthony, even Allison a lot of times, always right. Liv, never. But, everybody else, it is always funny when we disagree. It's like, oh, wow. This is a weird thing for us. We've never been wrong before. Right. What is it? The immovable object meets a something force or something? I don't know.
I don't know math or science.
Okay, good. We're going to do Catholic comedy because that's what we actually know and are good at. So we are going to do not a draft where it's like if once somebody takes them, they're off the board. We want to build, we have each built the best team to do what Forte Catholic does. Catholic media, Catholic entertainment, the talks, those sorts of things, right? So we are going to pick the CEO. So who's going to replace me, which is really funny. Who's going to replace me as the CEO of Forte Catholic? Chief Executive Officer, Chief Financial Officer. So who's going to overlook all the money? Chief Operations Officer. So who's going to actually run the organization? Chief Information Officer, the CIO. HR. So who's our human relations? Which HR. The irony of my last job is that I kind of was HR and was also all of the HR problems. So I just had conversations with myself, which was fun. Marketing, Chief Marketing Officer, obviously pretty obvious. And then I added one today because I had one person that was not on my list that needed to be on my list. So we added Spiritual Director. So you and I have both picked biblical characters to be these people. And we're just going to go through it. Sound good?
It does. It's just two quick things. One, I don't think we have the same answer for any of them, which I'm excited about. We'll see. And then two, you kind of said something at the end of the last segment promoting this. When you hit it big, then you'll pay your co-host, right?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, great.
I have already. So here's what I've started to do, John. I'm sure you saw 2 months ago, I went up to Father Anthony's to celebrate his 5th anniversary.
Yeah.
Right? I paid for everything. That was my first payment to Father Anthony. I have already talked to you about coming to see you, and I will just say that there is a theme there.
Love that. Can't wait for that for us.
So, you said I could come, but Jody didn't want me there. So just tell Jody that there's some money involved.
Not what I said.
All right, are you ready to start this?
I'm ready.
All right, we're going to take turns going first. Do you want to go first or second on CEO?
I will go second on CEO. I'll go first on the next one.
CEO. I thought about this a lot, and both of us, we haven't talked about we haven't talked to each other about who is who, but we did kind of talk about themes about who we were picking and that sort of thing. And one thing we had in common is that we both had people on the list that we actually moved on the list a couple of times. CEO. I had one person who I will go ahead and reveal now is not on my list, actually. I took him off. I was going to go with David. Okay. Great leader. The greatest king in all of the Old Testament. The kind of paves the way for Jesus the King and all of these things, right? But you can't have your CEO, sleeping with random women. That's kind of like some of his personal stuff. You can't really have that at the head of a Catholic organization. So I went with a guy, and I was thinking about what Forte Catholic does. It's we're kind of a new media, right? New evangelization that's been talked about for years. But it's we've been doing stuff in person. We're doing a lot of things digitally, online, podcasts, YouTube. And we're doing stuff in person. But even the stuff that we do in person is a little different than the old school way, right?
Yeah.
So I started thinking about like who would fit this category. Who's like Moses, great leader, old school, also, killed a guy, like not the great, not a tremendous track record, but who took Moses' spot? Who is the young guy that actually led the Israelites into the promised land? It was a great in battle, great leader, and took the reins from one of the greatest leaders. It was Joshua. I'm picking Joshua from the Old Testament to be our CEO.
I thought you were going New Testament there, so that's exciting. I'm glad you didn't. I got very nervous there that you were going to steal mine, but you did not. But it makes sense. That's a good one. Mine's better.
Okay, we'll see.
Okay, I'm going with Jethro. And that's not Jethro Tull. Jethro,
I was about to say the Southern boy. I don't know if he's in.
Taylor doesn't know who Jethro is, so he's googling him right now. But that's fine.
I'm not. One of the things that you said is correct. I don't know who he is, and I'm not googling. I'm just writing down your answers.
So Jethro, right, Moses' father-in-law, helped Moses.
Oh,
helped Moses like do arguably the greatest systematic delegation in the history of the Bible, really, and appointed like tons of people. I want to say hundreds, but could be less than that, of leaders to lead different groups. Some groups as large as 1,000, and some groups as small as 10 or 20. And so it's a kind of a cool.
That's our podcast and YouTube numbers.
Exactly. And so it's huge, and they were trained in how to do their work, and so they had to train everyone how to do stuff and make all these little communities and groups be able to like sustain themselves. So it was pretty cool. And so I'm going to go with Jethro because he helped Moses delegate, which I think the CEO would do.
It's such a incredibly creative answer. I really like it.
I appreciate it. I'm very excited about this. I like the rest of my answers just as much as this one.
Here's the reason that I picked that. I still think Joshua, I would give him, like if I was interviewing these two guys, they would be the last two to make the list. I think 51-49, I would still stick with Joshua because this is personal preference. I like CEOs who are leading from the front. That's just my personality, right?
Okay.
Jethro, like you said, like he was helping somebody else. He was helping Moses, the leader, to kind of put these things out. So I think Jethro would be perfect to support whoever we picked as the leader, like maybe as the COO, like somebody who's helping the leader set these things out. But I really like the pick. I really do like the pick.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's very good. All right, so you're going first on CFO, the Chief Financial Officer, who's handling all the tens of dollars that Forte Catholic brings in.
Bro, I went back and forth for minutes on this one. Do you like that? Minutes. I was gonna pick the widow. Who gave
that's offensive.
Not to be mean to you, but to be funny about like giving all the money away. It would
be funny, like if we did an ad campaign based off of her, like give Forte Catholic literally all of your money.
Yeah. So that was kind of what I was thinking, but I actually kind of last minute changed it to Jesus for a very simple reason.
Oh, you picked Jesus?
I mean, listen, bro, I think you'll appreciate this.
Jesus isn't the CEO?
No, he's the CFO because he can multiply all the money, bro.
Oh, my gosh.
He can just give you more money whenever he wants.
Jesus is going to go to jail. They're going to kill him again.
We always hear that's what would happen. So Jesus is the CFO, not the widow.
Golly, that's a terrible answer.
What do you mean? He literally could multiply money.
The widow is great. That's against the law.
He could just change the mind of the law.
Jesus is breaking the law at my new organization.
Yes,
Thank you for that.
You're welcome for giving you money.
Oh, man. I like the widow a lot better. You should have stuck with the widow. That's very funny. ForteCatholic.com/donate, by the way. Everything is tax deductible. I went with Matthew, who was a tax collector by trade and then became an apostle. And I like that for my financial guy. I like that better.
Wasn't he not a good tax collector, though?
That's proving my point. Because who I want in charge of the money is somebody who loved money first and then fell in love with Jesus. They know the money stuff. They know how to get money. But they're also a good, like he became an apostle and wrote a gospel. Like he's a good Jesus dude. But, like he's got a little world in him, which I like. So I'm sticking with Matthew. Your Jethro answer was far superior to the Jesus answer, which is a weird thing to say, but context matters.
I'm disappointed that you don't like all my picks, but I'm sure you'll like the rest.
I liked the widow a lot better than I did Jesus, which is, again, a weird thing that you're making me say in this scenario. These are terrible sound bites, but hopefully make sense within the game. I think it's my turn, right? Yep. Chief Information Officer. Again, kind of in the same. I was kind of going between David and Solomon here because, like I said earlier, you can't really have somebody who's the head of the organization making some of the mistakes with David and Solomon. My hope is this is a modern organization. They were in a different time. They were 4,000 years ago. They had a bunch of wives and concubines and all those things. I'm hoping they can rein that in the year of our Lord 2021. But the Bible literally said there is no one wiser than Solomon. So Solomon, he's not running from the front. So if he gets himself in trouble, we can just kind of quietly dismiss him and bring somebody else in. But you got to have somebody like that on staff. He's brilliant. I'm going with Solomon.
Okay, that's a good answer, a thoughtful one. So good job. I'm going with someone a little more discreet, maybe a little less known. A guy named Ehud. Okay. One of my favorite stories in Scripture. Actually, it's funny. I keep mentioning Joel. He's here. It's not just because he's here. I mention him all the time on this podcast.
I always say Ehud.
Is it Ehud? I think it's Ehud.
That's what
Ehud.
I say, and I'm always right. So.
Yes, I'm not going to claim to know how to pronounce Old Testament names. Okay.
Here's the thing: for anybody, just say it confidently. No one can tell you or me that we're saying it wrong. We both said it confidently, and
Perfect.
people can decide for themselves.
Well, he told a story in a men's session once about Ehud killing Eglon. Which you pronounced probably
best
Eglon.
Story in the Bible.
It's amazing. The story's amazing, so I've never forgotten it. But Eglon was not a great guy. God raised up Ehud to deliver the Israelites at that time, I believe. That's the story. And here's the thing: Ehud had to sneak past all of these people, right? And they checked. It actually says that in the story that they checked to see if he had weapons. And he hid a knife in his non-dominant hand, or he was left-handed or something, however the story goes. And then I love it. It says Eglon was a fat man, so he stood up to greet him.
If
and
the
then, boom,
Bible calls you fat, you're fat, man.
Yeah, you're a big boy. And then stabs him. And but he's sneaky, and it's important for as chief information officer to be able to keep some of the information within the company and make sure that some of your secrets don't get spilled out. And he clearly was very good at that, spilled out like the guts of Eglon. Hey. And so I pick Ehud as my answer for CIO.
I'm going to go ahead and give you the nod there. I like your answer a lot better than mine.
2 for 3. I'm 2 for 3 with you then.
The spy aspect that's what he was. He was a spy. Kind of like the James Bond of the organization. Yeah. One thing I'm not liking as a theme from both of us though is how we're both let's get this person because they're kind of shady. That's which isn't a good thing. I'm starting to be is that what people think of us?
It's a good thing if you want to make money. If you look at all the other organizations.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Good thing. Maybe it's a good thing that I'm literally all of these positions right now at the organization.
Love it.
What are we on now? COO?
Yeah.
Who's first? You're first.
Okay, COO. This one, I think almost all of mine are Old Testament. No, I guess Jesus isn't. It could be Old Testament. Jesus is the
beginning and the end, the Alpha and Omega.
I'm going to say, so for the COO, Chief Operations Officer, I went with Josiah. And you can choose.
I thought you were about to say mine. Mine is very similar.
Oh, you have Joseph, don't you?
I do.
So I go with Josiah. He was 8 years old when he started ruling, and he ruled for 30 plus years, and that's a long time to rule. And he did an okay job. So I'm going to say the COO, Josiah, he would do a great job.
Yeah.
Making sure things run smoothly. He learned at a young age, at 8.
Yeah, not your strongest answer, but it's better than Jesus.
Okay, thank you.
Mine, I went back and forth. I had somebody that I actually picked. I actually moved somebody that we'll talk about here in a minute. I moved somebody from this position that I actually moved into a different position that we'll talk about in a second. But I'm going with Old Testament Joseph.
Old Testament Joseph, not the carpenter.
Correct. Codimany. I mean, we have none of Jesus and Joseph's carpentry saved, which means they weren't very good. If they were good at their job, it would have been saved for perpetuity. How amazing would it be? We're eating dinner off this table that Jesus made with his dad. They weren't good carpenters. And that's anyway. I digress. Old Testament Joseph. He, coat of many colors. He's a dreamer. He can think up new things. He can get inspiration from God for new things, which is important for the operations of a Catholic organization. But most importantly, the fact that he rose up. He was the enemy of the state and ended up becoming second in command, only second to Pharaoh. and he literally saved everyone from a food-demic. I don't know what you call this, right? Like we've been in a pandemic, like a food shortage epidemic, right?
It's called a famine, Taylor.
Yeah, sure. That's what the Bible calls it, but I can't think of the word.
A food-demic.
A food-demic. I like mine better. But he saved the whole world. He's crafty, like the way that he kind of arrested his younger brother so that he would have to meet his dad. Like he's crafty. He literally built a huge organization, still had time for the little guy. Just a tremendous leader.
That's awesome. I like that answer.
Good. Okay. HR. I think I'm going first on HR.
You are, and I'm actually changing mine, so I'm excited to talk about it as well. So who's your HR guy?
If you want to fix this is easy. This is easy. This is by far the easiest pick of all of them.
Then I'm not guessing because I don't like being wrong.
I knew it immediately. Jon, if somebody is a problem in the organization and you need to send someone to one person to get that problem solved immediately, let's say it's a problem between two people, or somebody's late all the time. Who do you send them to that will instantly fix the problem?
You gotta send them...
Mama Mary.
Dude, that's
immediately.
Crazy. I thought you were gonna say who's the king? Who's the king? What's the king's name? Where they're arguing over whose baby it is, and he's like
Solomon. He's already on my staff.
Let's chop the baby in half, and then that because that's the person I thought you were gonna say.
Yeah. No, dude, Mary. Can you imagine? Like, you and I get in a fight on the podcast, and who do we have to go meet with? Mary. We would both leave apologizing, better people. We would fix it. Let's say I'm constantly late to stuff. I get sent to Mary, instantly fixed. Like, any problem, just bring it to Mary and she fixes the problem. I feel sorry for you that you have to answer after I did.
Well, you know what? My answer that I wrote down, and I'm not lying, and if I need to take a screenshot and send it to you, I will. I wrote down Mother Mary.
Oh, we agree.
So we do have one. I was the last second going to change it to Noah because can you imagine like what? How do you look at like 3 lions and only pick 2 and stay alive? But he had some issues.
Yeah, we can't have our HR guy be found naked somewhere. Like this is not something that can happen.
Yeah, you can't be drinking on the job either. So.
You can at Forte Catholic. It's right there. I take all the time on the job.
I also chose Mother Mary, obviously the wedding at Cana story, and she'd be great at HR. So we do agree on one.
Yeah, I mean it's the only it is the only one that we picked from that there is only one correct answer.
That's awesome.
Marketing, you go first.
Do I?
Yeah, because I went first with Mary.
Okay. I have another obscure one. This is my last obscure one. That's what I was trying to go for.
I'm proud of you. This has been fun. This has been
Mother
good.
Mary and Jesus, though, not very obscure. But marketing. For me, I chose Korah, which admittedly I did not know.
From the Avatar?
No. This is Korah. From Numbers, which is it's actually a book it's one of the only books I think in the Bible that I've not read like front to back yet, because I've always had this weird thing that Numbers in my head that Numbers was about numbers. And so why would I read it? So I still haven't, but I have been reading
really
it lately.
Weird. That's a really weird thing that you're stuck on.
I have weird things. But Korah took 250 influential people to confront Moses and Aaron. And so if you can find 250 people to get them together and they're influential people, then you'd probably be good at marketing. So that's why I chose Korah. I like that pick.
Oh, that's a great answer. And I know my answer, and I can't pick between our two. They're both great. We got to hire both these people, get them on staff. Maybe let's
handle it the way a Catholic organization will. We'll hire them both at part-time. They don't have to give them benefits.
No, I'm paying both these people. What you don't understand, with Jesus multiplying money and Matthew doing his thing, we've got all the money in the world.
Good point.
I went with, this is the one that I picked, that I changed. I couldn't decide where to put this guy. I knew he had to be on. I almost put him at COO because I think he'd be good at the Catholic media stuff, but I had to put him on marketing. The greatest marketer in all of Christian history is Paul. All of his letters. Answer. He wrote all of his letters to all of the churches. He's the one, and I think the story that most connects for me for what Forte Catholic does is that he was like, you know what you already know about? You already know about this unknown God. And I'm going to tell you that my God is that unknown God, right? Like meeting people where they are. Like that's exactly what we're trying to do. I think Paul gets that. I think he would kill it at marketing, but I absolutely adore your answer. So I think we have to hire both of them somehow. Just get them in the building because
you gotta have those guys on your staff for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It would be really funny to have like Paul as an employee and not just not the head guy. That'd be funny. I might do it just for kids. It would. All right, and this was a last-minute ad. This was a last-minute ad of category.
Because you felt guilty that you didn't have someone on your list.
There was somebody on my list that, kind of the same conversation we're just having, this person has to be on staff.
They have the same spiritual director.
Maybe.
You're first.
This person has to be on staff. They didn't fit as the CEO, the CIO, the CFO, any of these things that we've already talked about. I mean, maybe marketing, but I think Paul and your person. Who was your person?
For marketing, Cora.
I think Paul and Cora would kill it. So like this person is like the second or third best at all of them, but not the best. Spiritual director, my favorite letter in the Bible and my favorite gospel are written by the same person. The spiritual director has to be John. St. John, the beloved disciple, resting on the... Like, I need somebody like that to, like, pull me into the spiritual side of things. John's my answer.
I love that answer. And I'm not kidding. I was going to pick John. And it's my favorite gospel for sure. Love his arrogance throughout that gospel. It's amazing. So yeah, I love him. He'd be great. My answer is Joseph, Jesus' dad. Earthly father, if you will. Yeah, he prayed a lot and was very quiet. And a lot of spiritual directors I've met are kind of like that. I've never really met like an extroverted spiritual director. I'm sure they're out there. But he took things to heart. He prayed. He listened to God in his dream. And so, yeah, like a good dude. So I'm going to go with Joseph.
Dude, I think both of us just had killer lists. Like these
really companies are succeeding for sure.
Oh, 100%. Way more than they are in real life. I think this is great. And so here's what I want people to do. I'm going to go through my list real quick just to remind people, and then I want you to go through your list. And then what I want people to do is two things. One, if you're watching on YouTube, comment whose list do you think was better? I think it's neck and neck. I think this is the closest we've ever been at any, like, obviously it's in a competition, it's more for fun, but like anything that we've ever done, this is the closest we've ever been. Whose list was better? And also, who would you add? Who would you add? Who do you think is a good pick that maybe we missed? You can do that in the YouTube comments. You can do that on social media. We'll be posting this out later this week as well. I just think this is a fun game, and I want you guys to play along. So for me, my CEO was Joshua from the Old Testament. My CFO was Matthew the Apostle. My CIO was Solomon. My COO was Old Testament Joseph. HR, we both had Mary. Marketing, I had Paul, and spiritual director, I had John. Who did you have?
CEO, Jethro. CFO, Jesus, although the widow was funny, but Jesus. CIO, Ehud. COO, Josiah. HR, Mother Mary. Marketing, Cora. And spiritual director, Joseph. Jesus' earthly father.
This is one of my favorite things we've ever done on the show. We're going to keep doing this, like maybe do it as Saints one time, maybe do it at like who would be the best 5 hosts from the Bible. We're going to keep this game going because this was way too much fun. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And we're going to try to sound fancy on the next one. We're going to talk about behavioral cognition. Don't go anywhere. Last week, some of you got to hear me butcher commercial and ad sponsorship from our friends over at Select International Tours because they sent me words in other languages that I cannot pronounce. Somebody that listens to the show who speaks fluent German had to look up what I was talking about because they couldn't even get a grasp of the word I was trying to say in German. So I'm going to try this again. You ready? One of the trips that Select International Tours, who is the best like pilgrimage company based here in the U.S. They go all over the world. The first trip that they have coming up is a trip to the Holy Land with Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers. After visiting the Holy Land, the group will head to Germany, here's the word, to see the famed Oberammergau Passion Play. It's very famous, I just don't know how to say it. The trip's from May 6th to 16th of 2022, and all the details can be found by clicking on fortecatholic.com/tours. There's a link there that'll take you to the landing page for all these trips. The next one I'm going to tell you about today is a pilgrimage to learn more about the English martyrs and Catholic literary heroes of the UK. This one takes place May 31st to June 10th, 2022. Again, all of that is at fortecatholic.com/tours. There's just a button there you'll click, and it'll bring you to the page with all of these trips. So if you are looking to try to go on a pilgrimage next year because you've been cooped up for forever, check out fortecatholic.com/tours today. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Sherroll, and that is Jonathan Blevins. John, I had so much fun playing that game. That was a blast.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what people vote, and talking about it on Twitter is gonna be fun.
It's always fun for me too, because like every now and then, it happens. I think the most with Father Anthony, where I think of a topic and I have to wait 3 weeks because it's like I need to talk to a priest about this topic, right? Or like I'll have to wait and be like with Allison last week, I needed to talk about school stuff. I needed to talk to a mom about that. I needed to talk to, or I need a different perspective. I need a woman's perspective. So I'll talk with Liv on that. And like with you, a lot of times it was like video games or something, but it's like, which one do I need to do? Like this one I had for a while, and I was like, this is a John segment. It's just really fun for me to find segments that perfectly fit.
I love that for us.
The co-hosts. We're look at us. Look at us. Who'd have thought? We're going to try to sound smart. Are you ready for this?
I'm not going to try to sound smart, but you can.
All right. Every now and then, I'm constantly listening to podcasts. Everybody knows that. One of the podcasts that I've been listening to that's been really, really helpful for my mental health in the last 18 months, ever since COVID, is called The Happiness Lab with Dr. Laurie Santos. She's I think Harvard professor. I've talked about it once other time. It's either Harvard or Yale. I think it's Harvard.
Okay.
She's a professor on. She studies. This is where I don't sound smart. I don't know what type of doctor she is, but she's a doctor, a doctor of the brain. We're not to the me sounding smart part yet. She studies the brain, and what she does is she's looking at like the science behind what actually makes us as human beings happy, and it's coming from a completely like scholarly secular aspect, right? Okay. But what's really cool, she did one season. It was all about. It was gonna come out, and then the pandemic hit, and they like shifted what they were doing, and it was all about how do we stay happy and healthy during this time. It was just great for me. I listened to it a lot while I was working out the body, getting my mind right. It was just really, really helpful for me. But one of the things that she did in one of the in-between seasons was she actually like talked about like the wisdom from the ancients. So like Plato, Aristotle, great Christian thinkers, great Jewish thinkers, a lot of great religious stuff. So she started going to like these things that like the philosophers and religious people knew 2,000, 3,000 years ago. It's now being proven by the science.
Okay.
It's phenomenal. Like, it's just really cool that they're like, we now know scientifically that what Aristotle said was true, that what, some of the things that Jesus said were like true scientifically, right? Like proven, right? From a secular perspective. It's just fascinating. And the most recent episode that I just listened to was about behavioral cognition. I'm having trouble pronouncing stuff. Behavioral cognition. Okay. Taylor's gonna sound smart and then sound really stupid the whole segment. It's apparently what we're going for. Behavioral cognition is essentially the idea that we end up somewhat copying the people that we're around. Mannerisms, how we talk, how we act, these sorts of things, and how it's like proven by science that we do this. And I'm listening to this right around the time, I don't know if you saw the story about Shohei Ohtani, who is just an absolute baseball phenom.
He's the pitcher who hits home runs. He's
the best pitcher in the game and the best hitter in the game.
Yeah, that's
like,
crazy.
Everybody's like, oh, he's just like Babe Ruth. There was never Babe Ruth's pitching is overstated. He was one of the best hitters and one of the best players in the game. He was a decent pitcher, right?
Yeah.
This guy is the best at both right now, which is just unheard of. And he's Asian. A commentator got in trouble for saying something. He was talking about Shohei Ohtani. He was, commentating on the game, professional guy for whatever team it was. And he said something in a Chinese accent. Like he's saying 8 sentences, and he says like 3 or 4 words in a Chinese accent. And like got suspended and got in trouble, and everybody's yelling at him and stuff. Like, it really hit me because I have done stuff like that so many times, like not on purpose. Not trying to be a jerk and trying to be racist, or like I'm not obviously not trying to do those things. But I've been at a Chinese restaurant, John, and I've ordered my food and I've said like thank you or yes, I would like an egg roll or something like that in a Chinese accent because that's what I'm hearing, right? So if somebody comes up to me with a thick accent, I start copying it, whether it's a Chinese accent or a Hispanic accent. Like that's where it can get me into trouble. But also, like, even on like a kind of like more normal and like funnier side, the more tired I am, the more Texan I sound. The more I drink, the more Texan I sound. The more I'm around my Louisiana Cajun Bayou family, the more I start talking like that. And it's this weird thing that it's like, this is not who I normally am, but it is a part of who I am, where I start mimicking those that I'm around. What do you think about all? I just threw a lot of stuff, positive and negative, at you. What do you think about this whole behavioral cognition? We're copying the people we're around.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The baseball player Ohtani is Japanese.
Okay.
And is apparently one of the best players to ever play there, which I did not even know that. I knew he was crazy.
He's one of the best players to ever play, period.
Yeah, to have someone pitch and hit like that is just insane and awesome and cool. So yeah, I do that. Like when I visit when you sent the text about what we're going to talk about, like when I visit my grandma, and she used to live in Tennessee and live in Georgia, and I'd hang out with all those people, I would start to develop like a Southern accent. It's very weird to me. And I always wondered if I was the only one. I never really Googled, which is how you find all information, to see if that was a thing. I definitely do that. I tease my wife, who I think picks up mannerisms from some of her girlfriends when she sees them, especially Joel's wife, Colleen. She always says, "You know what I mean?" And Jody will say, "You know what I mean?" all the time after hanging out with them, and I'll roast her for it. But I do the same kind of thing. It's interesting. I didn't know there was like a word for it or that it was an official thing, but 100%, I've noticed it in myself and definitely noticed it in others.
Yeah, there are positive, neutral, and negative aspects of this, right? So like obviously the negative aspect, if you're broadcasting a game and then you start speaking a Chinese accent, talking about a Japanese accent, talking about a Japanese player, like obviously that's not good, right? But I don't think that I don't know this guy, but I've done it enough to where I know that I'm a mostly decent guy, and I've done it enough myself. Like I know growing up, like I was an athlete, and because I was a good athlete, most of the other good athletes at the school were African American, so I started talking quote unquote more like a black guy, right? And like people would make fun of me for it. A lot of white people would be like, that's not who you are. That's not, but it's like, it is kind of, right? Like I spent 4, 5, 6 years playing sports with these guys. So you start talking like the people that you're around, and whether it's by race or by like mannerisms or like by phrases, like you were saying with your wife. So there's some negative sides, but there's also this thing where like, I noticed it when I was at Life Teen Camp. You're with Joel right now, which is funny. I was at Life Teen Camp. There's a huge group from Louisiana, and I would be talking like I'm talking to you now, with like the staff of the camp and that sort of thing. But if I got into the group with Louisiana, I started talking like that.
Yeah.
I don't talk like that normally, but it is part of who I am. That's what all my family talks like, right? And I just grew up with a bunch of different dialects and kind of made my own, right? A little bit of the young black guys from 2008 or 2004, 2008.
A little bit of Monica.
a little bit of Texan, a little bit of Cajun, a little bit of the late night shows that I've picked up so much stuff from all these people, and some of it can be seen as negative, but some of it really is who I am. And then obviously there's some positives, which we'll talk about. What do you think about the negative stuff, or like even what can be perceived as negative, where we're kind of copying people and it's not a good look?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's important for us to try not to do that, to try not to sound like a different accent or culture, like if we can try to catch ourselves, just so we don't offend. But so that, I don't know, that might be the negative, right? And then maybe I wonder how much of this plays into like how, like the decisions you make and stuff like that. Like, should you make sure I forget the quote. And forgive me if you were going to bring this up later. I forget the quote, but I love it, and I would love to give credit to whoever it is. So maybe I can look it up. Who you are like the product of the 5 people you spend your most time with.
Yeah, I think you heard that on this show from a host named Taylor Schroll. I think that you behaviorally cognition picked that up from me.
Was it? I've heard this for years. I don't think
it's a popular thing, but there have been multiple people that have like said that, and I talk about it all the time.
Yeah, and so that I think it's super important to make sure you're surrounding yourself with just awesome people, like people who are trying to be holy, people who are trying to be successful. And not that you shouldn't hang out with people who aren't successful, but that you should try to have your inner circle be people that you want to be like.
Well, you're welcome, John. I'm glad I can provide that for your life.
Yeah, bro. That's why I'm on the
podcast. But yeah, like the positive side of this, it's like we talk about it all the time in the Christian life, that the importance of community, right? And it's not just to have fun and be like, oh, we're all in this together. Like it is that, like, I'm hanging around good people who have good habits. Like when I'm around people who pray a lot, I tend to pray more. When I'm around people who don't pray as much, I tend to pray less, right? Like we are such social beings that we are going to pick up things from the people around us, right? Yep. And that could be very positive. Even how we talk or how we say things, how we act can all be picked up by the people that we surround ourselves with. And I think like the science is proving that statement I just said is true 100% of the time. We are going to pick stuff up from the people that we are around. So it is important to at least have that inner circle, the people that you're closest with that can help you out, so that you can go out and hopefully be that change for other people, be an impact for in somebody else's life, right?
Yeah, for sure. I love that.
I love you.
I love you too, bud.
Oh, well, that's so sweet. All right, well, that's going to wrap us up today. Jon, this was fun. This is one of the more fun shows you and I have done together in a long time. I mean, we've only done 2 shows in a long time, but this has been really fun.
I'll make sure that I have a bang energy every time we do a show.
Well, good, and make sure Joel's there to make sure that I think he was the X factor. Joel Stepanek, who's been a guest on the show multiple times, just sitting in the background of your office right now.
Love it.
All right, Jon, thanks a lot. I hope your hand continues to heal well. And that I'm just really happy that we're Scar buds. I'm really glad that we were able to play that game together. And I'm really glad that I said this was going to be a smart segment and then I didn't sound very smart. I'm really happy for all those things.
Me too.
All right. God bless, Jon. Thank you guys so much for listening. Remember to hit subscribe wherever you are listening or watching. Comment on that game. I think that's going to be the biggest thing from this episode. I'll be back next week. See ya. Boom. That was fun. Thank you all for listening and watching today. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. We really, really did. Don't forget to let us know what biblical characters that you think would be great to lead Forte Catholic. As we, we can't pay people right now, so we're hiring biblical people who are in heaven and don't need any money. Speaking of money, if you want to support the work that we're doing here, fortecatholic.com/donate. Every gift that you give, is tax deductible, that's for sure, and also earns you time out of purgatory. I don't know how much time. I didn't barter that part with God. But thanks for watching and listening today. If you liked it, please hit the subscribe button, and we'll be back soon.